Hi, I'm Rasmussen, the co-founder, along with my wife, Kathleen. We have been privileged of the Lord to publish Christian testimonies for many, many years. That's the call that God has had on our life, to help work with God so that others would come to know who Jesus is and they would give their life to Him. Sharing the good news of the gospel of what God has given humanity by the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ on the cross. Well, my friend, part of the call that God has given us in conjunction with publishing testimonies is to exhort other born-again encourage other born-again Christians to share their testimonies. Satan has huge strongholds in Christians, giving them reasons. Oh, God would never use your testimony. Well, God's not done with your testimony. Well, I'm going through a hard time, and I just don't have it in my heart to speak all that well of God. He'll just give you reason after reason after reason not to give God your testimony, especially your salvation testimony. If you are saved, you're born again, you have a story to tell. And God wants to use that story. He wants to use that story to plant and water seeds of spiritual truth in the lives of other people who are looking for answers about God and spiritual truth. Now, my friend, you can do that by simply putting your testimony on a cell phone, on a camcorder. They're available in the United States anyway. Anybody can get their hands on one with a little bit of persistence, and somebody can put that up on the internet, and God can use that until the end of time, whatever that might be. God can't use your testimony if you don't give it to Him to use. So please, my friend, let me encourage you, don't delay. Share your salvation testimony or any other testimony that God has done so that God might use that to give hope, encouragement, impart faith, spiritual insight to others. You have no clue how God will use your testimony. But I can assure you, if you don't give it to Him to use, He can't use it. Okay? Now, there are ways that a precious brother by the name of Jim Barbarossa has been used of God to help get testimonies out into the highways and byways, and he has produced, as of this taping, he is co-produced with a couple of churches what's called real-life God stories. I call them, they're just real-life stories, but the first edition looked like this, and it's just the faces of people on the front and back who have taken the time to write out some of their precious testimonies and putting them into a book form. And Jim worked with the pastor and the overseers of a church down in Indiana, and that book has gone around the world. I could spend 5 hours telling you of the incredible things that God has done in this book alone. But the purpose of it was to put testimonies in a non-religious-like form and make it available and put it out into the local community of where that church was located. And God used that to bring so many people to the salvation knowledge of Jesus Christ. It continues to work and will work until Jesus returns, maybe even longer than that. Jim worked with another church and produced a second real-life stories book. This was called the Lighthouse Book, and this came out of a church also in Indiana, and it too has the testimonies. It's a little shorter than the one I just showed you, but God is using this book. My wife and I have been privileged, as money has been available, to purchase these books and hand them out, and we've had opportunities to minister to people. It is just incredible how people will receive a testimony book rather than just a Christian tract. I've handed out a lot of Christian tracts. That's a tough ministry. But you walk up to somebody and say, hey, how would you like a free book of Christian testimonies? And oh, yeah, it is amazing how people are receptive to a free book of just encouraging testimonies. And if you're a pastor or you are in connection with your pastor, I would like to encourage you to pray about producing a real-life stories book of your own, produced by your church, of people in your church writing their testimonies and putting them in a book of your own creativity. You can get a hold of Jim Barbarossa if he's still alive and able to help, and he'll help you put it all together. He'll send you a free package, a free kit of how to do it. He'll make it so easy for you. And you can contact the Precious Testimonies Ministry if you'd like. We'll put you in contact with Jim. If you are a pastor or in connection, in oversight in a local church, and these are just evangelistic tools that God is using mightily, and he may want to do it in your community. So contact us, and we'll help you to get started in that endeavor. My friend, let me just also say this. Maybe you aren't a pastor, maybe you're not in church leadership, but maybe your heart just burns to be used to help people come to Jesus Christ. Have you written out your testimony? Have you written out your salvation testimony? If not, why? Because a little voice has said in your head that God probably wouldn't use it? So why waste your time? My friend, that's a lie from Satan. Please write out your salvation story. Take the time to share what life was like for you before you fully committed your life to Jesus Christ. Write it out. Have somebody type it out. Make copies of it. Make it available. If you're bashful and fearful, put it in places where people would stumble across it, like a Christian tract. But tell people what Jesus means to you, what he's done for you. You have no idea how God can use that to touch the lives of multitudes. I could go on for hours and tell how God has used testimonies that my wife and I have been privileged to publish. Jim could tell you stories, hours and hours of how God has used just these two books to go around the world, when all they were really designed to do initially is to be used to reach out to people in the local community where a church is located. But I just want to encourage you prayer warriors to pray for your pastor. Pray for your local church, that your local church fellowship would produce a real life stories that you can put out from your local fellowship, from people that go to your fellowship. God wants it, my friend. We need to be saturating planet Earth with the glory of God. Psalms 96 verse 3 gives us an open admonition from God to declare his glory among the nations. And a simple testimony book like these is an awesome way to take some funds that you might appropriate for missionary work and just simply put it into a book and let people take them free of charge and put them out in the highways and byways in your community. You will be amazed the fruit that would come forth if you would do that. Thanks a great deal, and God bless you.